Well, it's the Two Ordinary Cops back again, and we're to the last episode of the Zach Rolfe series, which has been a pretty monumental thing. A hell of a lot to digest and go through, and obviously we've gone through it all. So welcome back, lads. We've got Zach and Schultzy. How we going, gents?
Yeah, good.
Boys, we're going good. Very good.
That's the go. So obviously, we've covered some bloody heavy stuff. And obviously, this incident, mate. You don't need any telling how much national interest there was in this at the time, and still is. Really, 6 years down the track, there still is. So, as a result, it's generated a lot of interest by the audience, and a lot of people have written in asking questions. So, we thought for the final episode, if you're happy, we're going to throw the questions that everyone's asked to you and get your response.
100%.
So. The beauty of this for the listeners is that they're getting it from the horse's mouth. So, and a funny looking horse it is too. So,
not as funny as the two horses asking it though.
Oh, exactly right. So, yeah, how we going, gents? Everyone good?
Yeah, mate.
I'm real good. Don't mind me. I'm just doing some last minute work. It's so rude, but I just got an urgent email. So we can carry on while we're doing the recording though.
Oh, that's good.
Mate, I'm glad
it won't take me 2 minutes.
Well, mate, if you... Oh, sorry, Damo.
No, you're right, Schultzy. I was going to say, you got the list of questions there because we don't really want to miss anybody. Like, everyone's asked some really important stuff. So what we want to do is we'll break through them. I know you got a really good list there. So I'll hand over, mate, and fire away. And Zach, let us know.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll be ready.
Awesome. So, and to everybody that sent in messages or questions, thank you very much. I have gone through all the social media platforms and a lot of the messages that come through. So I hope I've got them all. If I have not, however, it doesn't mean if you get another question out of this, ask us, because I'm sure Zach will be happy to come back on at some stage and answer a couple of other questions, because it has got a lot of interest from a lot of people. So, mate, if you're ready, mate, I'll start with the first one.
Yeah, ready, brother. Let's do it.
All right. So, does he think the NT police bosses would ever try something like this again? Going under the bus over an obviously righteous shoot for political reasons and chase it all the way to the Supreme Court prosecution? Or does he think they've learned their lesson with him?
Going hard straight from the start, like we were talking about. But no, basically, do I think the NT boss would ever try something like this again? Yes, I do. And the reasons why are the executive in charge right now are still basically the same group of police that were involved throughout the whole investigation. The actual current police commissioner, who just got made the police commissioner, was, I believe, the assistant commissioner at the time who actually charged me with murder when the police prosecutor was unwilling to do so without seeing more evidence. So that assistant commissioner, despite having a conflict of interest with the deceased family and growing up with the deceased family, he charged me with murder, and then was heavily involved in the case insofar as who could give evidence in the budget and whatnot. So he is now the commissioner. And I think the bosses in the NT police at the moment, because they've never faced the issues, they danced around it and they ignore it and they hope that it goes away. And they generally are the same. Obviously, a couple of commissioners have been removed from the police force, one through dismissal, one through basically forced retirement. Apart from them and a few of the police involved who have been removed for other reasons or retired, they're the same core group. And I think they would do whatever the pressure externally makes them think is the right thing to do, or what they wanted to do. So, for example, obviously, at the time with the government in charge, the pressure was probably to have a fast arrest. Recently, I think, it's October now, so in June, so about 5 months ago, there was another death in custody in the NT. And recently, and there was always the question of, are the police going to handle a very, very different scenario, but it was a death of male police were involved. But the question was, are they going to go the same route that they went with the shooting? Now, it's the same people involved, basically the same core group. After about 5 months, they've handed an opinion file to the DPP and basically gone, we're going to go through that process, going to give it to the DPP, let them make the decision. So we're still going to handball the decision off to, like, just to say we're not going to do it. But the reason they've given for that is that, in a situation as serious as this, we need that time. We need to take the time. It's to give it the, I guess, the work it deserves before we give that file forward. But they're the same people who arrested me after 3 or 4 days. So I think at the moment the people involved, they're just weak and they're going to do whatever they think is wanted of them. So yeah, long answer short, yes, I think they would do it if they thought that was what was wanted of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just on that too, I was very, very surprised to see that. I mean, people talk about, oh, we've lost our opportunity. There is no statute of limitations on this stuff. You can put it through the process of going through a coronial, like I bloody ad nauseum went at last time. The coroner is the first port of call for this kind of thing, where there's ambiguity around legalities of a police officer in the execution of their duty. Put it to the coroner. Now, I mean, our opinion of the coroner is irrelevant. The process is put it to the coroner and go from there. Let the process play itself out, as torturous as that is for everyone involved. I don't know. Once again, I don't have the evidence in front of me, but history's made me skeptical. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Look, the problem is I have, and exactly like you mentioned, Damo, the speed in which it was done. These investigations take a very long time to go through all the ifs, buts, and maybes, and it just, yeah, I mean, the pressure, they've basically bowed down to political pressure and made a judgment which everybody could see was incorrect. So, and the court case proved that. So, yeah. But mate,
Yeah.
if you're ready for the next one,
Yeah, hit me.
all right.
Hit me.
So,
Listen to it.
Hit me.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
You must have been a boxer.
so in this one it said in his letter in your letter to the
Yeah.
media, he mentions that in another state he would have been given a medal for his actions that day, referring to a shooting by WA police and another one by Victoria Police. Does he think what happened to him is specific to the political climate and executive of the NT, or does he think it is likely what happened to him could have happened to a young constable in another state or territory in this country?
I don't think it would have happened in another state or territory at the time, but I don't think it's just a purely a Northern Territory thing. I think it's very specific to the police that were in charge of the organisation at the time. Do I believe personally, despite obviously the apparent investigations clearing it of political interference, do I think there was some influence by the politicians at the time? Yeah, of course. When you go into the head of ICAC who'd been put in place by the chief minister to oversee the shooting of the investigation of the shooting, when he's ordering police to arrest me, obviously it looks like, and then the chief minister and the commissioner of police on the same flight to Yundamu, we have the consequences will flow statement. Yeah, I think there was some political influence, but again, like I think we talked about it earlier, if you're a strong commissioner or if you're a strong cop, if you're a strong human, no matter who's telling you what to do, if they're telling you to do the wrong thing, you're still going to do the right thing. You're still going to do what you should do. So I think it does come down to the specific individuals at the time. I think if we blame it on politics or whatnot, I think that takes the responsibility away from the individuals. So I think it does come down to the people who are in charge at the time. And I think we mentioned it before again, like there's a lot of cops, there's a lot of people who are just sheep. And if they've got good leadership, they'll act the part, they'll look like they're good to go. You put weak leadership in charge, they show some different colours. So I think that's the issue with the police force at the moment. There are a lot of sheep in there that are just too scared to do the right thing, to put their head above the parapet. But in my incident, I think commissioner of the police. I think it was just it really just comes down to him and his little core group, and they were just incorrect. Look, there's been discussions that that commissioner at the time, who's long gone, he obviously his father was a fairly high up in the NT cops, and he long history. I've heard shit about him, like, you know, when he was young playing footy, saying that if he was ever the boss of the cops, and he ever oversaw a police shooting, he'd charge the cop for murder. So it does come down very much to your own personal professionalism, I think, especially in the NT police, where those roles, they should be separated, and it should really be up to the investigators to make those core decisions. They're so influenced internally, which we know, and the paperwork for this case shows. So yeah, I guess it could happen anywhere. I don't put it down just to the politics at the time. It could happen to anyone. I think it could happen to anyone across Australia or other countries. So I think you just got to be prepared for it. But we've mentioned it offline as well. Like, we go to work, you got a gun on your belt, so there's a reason why that's there. So you have to prepare for that that to occur. But then you also know, as cops, well, a potential outcome of that is being in a courtroom. So you got to prepare for that as well. So I think all cops should be prepared to go through what I went through.
Yeah. Damo.
Yeah. How do you enumerate for that? What workplace on earth would accept that level of risk? None.
Yeah.
Even other emergency services, it's always safety first, and first responders' safety is above other people's safety. So we talk about, you know, what's protection of life? Yours, protection of life, others involved in the incident, protection of property way down the list, and then protection of the environment, relative to firefighting generally. But in policing, no. Quite often we all put ourselves at extreme risk, and the thing is, we're exposing ourselves there to litigation, not just litigation, to prosecution for things we're trained to do. And I know that people talk about the fact that they take into consideration the stress response, but I don't think they do. Not realistically, because, I mean, realistically, if you've formed in your mind you're about to die, that's a very personal thing, or there's a threat to your life or someone else's life, and you respond in the way you're trained, which is using our firearm. That's our lethal threat. That's how we deal with lethal threat. Mate, something's got to change there, because that's what we're trained to do, and the outcome is potentially devastating. And I think it's, in your case, it's just that, mate, your strength, you got me covered. I'd be either be dead, a blithering mental case, or the angriest human being in Australia if I was in your situation. And you're not, and that's a credit to you.
No,
I'm not saying you should be like that. I'm saying it's a credit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's what I think needs to change across Australia as well. Is that as you've said, like, people say that they take into account the psychology and the physiology of combat, of a life and death experience, but I agree with you completely. They don't, because they don't know it. I don't think in Australia in general. I think we're so behind the times in the actual science of that. It's there. You just have to. I think we really have to catch up, and if we catch up on the psychology and the physiology of that at the same time, you're strengthening. If you're educating yourself on that, or being trained and educated in that, you're also training yourself and fortifying yourself for that. If you are in that traumatic incident, that you respond with, I guess, growth rather than damage internally or mentally. So you are fortifying yourself through education, through training. Again, so I think we really need to, across Australia, within police forces, within the courts, and just general expertise, really, we're so far behind the times. Like, we go, critical incident, tunnel vision, heart rate rises, like audible exclusion. Like, we're still talking about these basic things from like decades ago, which are still obviously they're true, but there's so much more to it now. But not only for your like legal defense and for understanding, but for your own like conditioning in your training in the lead up to those incidents. It's so beneficial, because we were reading books on that in the army that were written 20, 30 years ago, and they obviously from like America, from Canada, and they're still above where we're at training wise in Australia. So we really need to catch up.
Another
Yeah.
point there, um, relating to the way that people judge others who've been through these situations, is that the experience in the general population of critical incidents is so low. You've got
Mm.
a very, very small population in policing, in the defence department, in emergency services in general, who see those critical incidents, and then you've got the general population who just are going to Woolies, and
Yeah.
they can't comprehend what we're talking about. There's no way they can comprehend it because they've never been there. They may have had an adrenaline rush 3 or 4 times in their life. And I mean a true adrenaline rush. I mean your gut burning to your ball bag adrenaline
Mm.
rush. Like, holy shit, I could die here. They've never experienced that. And I did hear another. I can't remember where it was. I did hear someone talking about the benefits of national service and things like that, where people do receive a
Mm.
level of training in that protection, that base level, being able to protect yourself, being able to protect others, having some ownership of the government. Like, we are here acting. I have faith in what we're doing. So there's such a disconnect between the general public and what police do all the time, and I think that's a contributing factor to the way that things are dealt with in court. But I think we're getting a bit off track there. But I just had to say that because
No.
you were mentioning the stress
Mm.
response and how people don't understand it, and how could they? How could they possibly
Yeah.
understand it? They've never experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the only one thing I really liked what you said. People come down to a choice. Like people have to make the right choice. And just a quick explanation. When I joined the police, my uncle was in the Queensland Police, and he wrote one of the reference letters was from him. And in it, he mentions he's obviously known me since I was born and all this sort of stuff. But he said he's got a very good moral compass. Now, moral compass means that you will make the right decision in those times, and you will follow what you know is right, not what pressure you're getting either politically on from, victims or this, that, and the other. You will make the right choice. And I think there's a lot of, especially in your scenario, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the bosses that need to look at themselves and go, did I actually really make the right choice for the right reasons? It's the police, being in the police is so important to have that moral compass, because otherwise, I mean, like I said, when I arrested that DV offender when I was off duty, yeah, I could have beaten the shit out of him, but my
Mm.
moral compass said, no, that's not right. This is the way you do it. So it's very important for people to actually have that moral compass.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, mate, we'll move on to number 3. So they said in the first episode, you mentioned that uh, he knew he wanted to be a copper from a young age and joined the army, knowing he would eventually join the police. Did you consider going in as a MP instead of a grunt?
Before you answer, he's smiling. Just so you're aware.
I was going to say, I was going to try to be nice. I'm hoping this person that asked this question is not an MP
Yeah.
because I feel bad already. But no, I didn't. I grew up, I read some of those, I think it's Lee Child books. The main character is Jack Reacher. He's on TV now. He was an MP, and he's like, it's a standard book. Like he's getting into the craziest adventures every single day. Luckily, I could see through that. Like, enjoyed the books, enjoyed reading it, but I knew that that was not what an MP did. Luckily, because when I did join the army, there would never was in my mind to join the MPs. Really, I didn't figure that they really did anything. Maybe they do sometimes. All I saw them do on base was get us for speeding on base and then washing their own cars. So I know some of them. Know some of them. Legends. I never saw them do anything. So, but no, I like it. Yeah, no, I didn't. I guess.
No. Just answer me this too, because I don't know what was the role of the MPs in places like Afghan and Iraq. Did you see MPs on
I
deployment?
I didn't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I think because I was on a small FOB, like a small forward operating base, so we didn't have any there.
Mm.
I imagine that some of the larger bases they were there to make sure people were just like generally behaving. But then I imagine when incidents went down, like they would have to be there to actually investigate stuff. Like the AFP would get sent over there sometimes to investigate shootings and stuff like that. depending on the incident.
So
So
the
I'm sure
civilians
that
are
they
outpaid.
will, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they would have to get involved in that. But I probably didn't even see an MP over there. But
Yeah.
I wasn't where they would be at.
Yeah. And excuse my ignorance a little bit. I know there's an organisation called ADFIS, the Australian Defence Force Investigation Service. And
Mm,
as far as I'm aware, they're look, if any listeners know, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're basically a civilian investigation service that sits beside the service to conduct high level investigations within the Defence Force. But um, similar to the NCIS, I had a little bit to do with the US
mm,
Naval Criminal Investigation Service, and they are purely civilian because they sit outside rank, which gives them investigative authority over any rank. So they don't answer to anybody. They're not in the chain of command. They basically work for the Judge Advocate General, and they just move throughout the Defence Force conducting investigations where they need to with total authority. So, but obviously they're not defence members; they're sworn civilians. So I don't know whether ADFIS is something similar to that, but
yeah, I'm not even sure. All I know is that if the MPs are even part of it, if you could call them part of it, I'm sure they are on the ground level. The military justice system, if you can call it that, the Australian military justice system, if you compared that to like the investigation that went through with the shooting, like that's probably more professional than the military justice system. The military
yeah,
justice system is insane.
yeah,
The best example, like it is just basically fucking made up. People just being like, I have this shape on my shoulders, so what I say goes above what you say in so far as like statements. Because I outrank you, my statement is truth. Your statement is not truth.
yeah,
It's to that level of basicness. There's a doco on Apple. I don't know what it's called. It's a doco series. It's about Eddie Gallagher, a Navy SEAL that got arrested for murder, and then he got cleared and he got let go. But it is, if people are interested, it is obviously in regard to the American military justice system, but very, very similar to the Australian military justice system and how many shortfalls there are. If anyone's interested in that, but it's even wilder than the NT police insofar
mm,
as like investigations go and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. The only dealings I had with MPs was, well, obviously, if you deal with somebody that's in the defence force, and there was a few in Catherine. But from my experience, most of the defence personnel were very scared of the MPs, and of course, we had a MOU, which is Memorandum of Understanding, that it all had to be reported to them. Any incident that
Mm.
involved a defence member. The good thing part about that, though, we usually got very good cooperation. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
they,
makes
they
sense.
weren't scared of the MPs; they were scared of the professional outcome.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, they were held accountable through their chain of command for everything they did. And the MPs have just extraordinary authority over their livelihood. So, hence the
Exactly.
reason I used to also say that the MPs are policing people who are highly disciplined professionals. And yeah, young fellas fuck up. But
Mm,
generally speaking, it would be very rare for a defense member to turn and be completely rogue. I get it during times of war when people are completely wigging out. And yeah, the MPs
mm,
in London and places like that during the Blitz would have had their hands full. But dealing with people on leave, but generally, and look, no disrespect. There's no disrespect. It's just putting it in. You can't
mm.
compare them. They're apples and oranges. Civilian police are dealing
Yeah,
with civilians, undisciplined, do whatever they want. Who knows what weapons they've got? Who knows what their motivations are? The defence force, you're dealing with defence force personnel who at least have an understanding of the rank structure, and yeah,
yeah, exactly. And if the defence force personnel these days, if they commit a crime, they deal with the civilian police, not the MPs.
exactly, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right, well, mate. Now, question number 4. A question I would like to ask of Zach um, would be: was he aware of the support he was receiving from across the country, and did the knowledge of that support outweigh the feeling of complete disappointment for the treatment you received in the Northern Territory Police hierarchy and political figures?
I think I was aware of it, but it was probably a bit of a defense mechanism as well, but also a bit of actual logic. Was that I obviously the support I had from the guys and girls that I worked with, that I knew within the army and the police and within just life in general, that support meant like the absolute world to me. And that support is what really that I lent on when times were hard. But the support that I had from um, the large majority of strangers, I dealt with it in the same way that I dealt with the I guess the negativity or the hate towards me from the other side. I was like, these are two parties that, from whatever circumstances, they're on different sides of this incident. They don't have all the facts because this was as you said before, Barbs. The body worn didn't come out for 2 years.
No.
So before that occurred, if you didn't know me, I was like, if you're against me or you're for me, I was like, what's your opinion worth? Because you don't know me, you haven't seen the evidence. So I kind of dealt with that. Like it was kind of like in a, I had to deal with it the same way because if I put weight on the support, then I had to put weight using the same logic on the negativity. So I kind of left them both until the actual evidence started to come out there, and then it was more meaningful. So definitely know it was there, but I kind of just like let it be there, and I didn't really delve too deep. I know the tricks in your head. Like I know that if you, we were talking about it just before we started recording, like with social media, how negative it is and how bad it is for your brain. I know that if I want to go feel, if I want to get into like ruin my day, I could go find a I hate Zach Rolfe site and start reading out the comments. Same way, if I want to start picking myself up and like stroking my ego, I can go to some other place and start reading all these positive comments about me. So maybe sometimes I did that, but like in general, I would steer clear of all of it. Luckily, I had enough support from the people that knew me, and I knew who I was as well. So I really leant on that. Once the evidence actually started coming out, that's when support actually mattered. Because if you're basing it off nothing, well, like it's meaningless, which I think I kind of had to do. And Barbs, you talked about it as well with when you were in the job with the boys. Like you did the right thing. You had to base it off what could have occurred and with the information that was presented, which is that I had done the wrong thing. Until that evidence comes out, you can't do anything else.
Well, mate, the thing was, I went through that 2 years going, something fucked up, something's gone catastrophically wrong. That don't get me wrong, from the position of a serving police officer, especially as a sergeant, I was sitting back going, something's gone wrong. Like there's been something here that has occurred during the shooting, that there's been a snap, or he's done something that has made all the investigators go, oh fuck. And they've been left in this horrible situation where it's like, we have to charge him with murder. It's occurred. And then when I saw the body worn, mate, that was the end of me. I just went, oh shit. It's just, Jesus, what were they thinking? What are your thoughts, Schultzy?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right there. There was a lot of support, and I think it's important to have the support. But I really like Zach's approach in relation to just sitting there, basically sitting there. You know, if people until you got the evidence, really, it's nice to always have people having your back, but you want them to have your back for the right reasons. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And I think,
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah. And I think,
until the
Zach, from like where I was once the body worn came out, I think, muster room talk. I mean, I was in the EOC by then, so the EOC talk, and this was a lot of civilians, a lot of so non-police government agencies working in the Emergency Operations Centre for COVID, of all places. They're all going, so tell me, why do you get, they're asking me, like, they don't know, they don't know
Yeah.
police. Why do you get charged? That, I mean, he was getting stabbed, he shot the guy, and then he was stabbing his mate, and then he shot the guy. Like, what? I thought that's what you meant to do. Isn't that what police do? If you stab a cop, you shot. And it's like, yep. And they're going, so what the
Yeah.
fuck? And then the trouble was the commissioner would walk in as the bloody territory controller, and it's like, what the fuck, sir? And
Yeah.
I remember a couple of times we had pretty good access to the executive, and it was, what's your thoughts on this? And they're like, they'd shoot that conversation down real quick. They weren't going to come in on it. And it was,
Yeah, and
anyway,
again, they still haven't. They still haven't addressed it. Like,
no,
I don't think they ever will. I don't think they'll ever be there and defend themselves and say and take that chance of like defending themselves. But I had again, I had access to the body worn video. I think within after maybe the first 3 or 4 weeks after the shooting, and so like my people, even the close people, ended up seeing it and stuff like that, and it got spread around even before I got it. Other people had seen it, but in so far as the support, I would always go back to my knowledge of who I am, my feelings about myself. I have a really good close circle, and I would always go back to the close little messages, from one of the boys, senior boys in the patrol group. I may have mentioned it before. Like he sent me a message shortly after, just saying if we were all sitting there talking, and if we all said if any of our family were ever in danger, we would want you to be the cop that arrived to protect them or to look after them, because we know you would. And I was like, that one message is worth more than 50,000 random strangers that haven't seen nothing. So I'm like, that kind of support, that real support is what I leant on. But you have to cultivate that before. Again, it's like what we talked about earlier with the preparation for a critical incident. Same with your support networks. You have to cultivate your support networks. And I did I probably didn't do it actively or as actively as I should have, because you can always do things better. But when you go to a new place, you have to, it's just be nice to humans, be a good human, cultivate friendships and cultivate that support network. It's like what we were talking about the bosses, that they don't have that respect of the ground. It's one of these things that creates strength. It's like cultivating that community, and you really have to do that for in case of need. Like it's like break in case of emergency. So when that shit happened, I had that really strong support base, which was so much more important to me than the strangers online, either for or against me.
Well, I suppose, I mean, one of the things is also there was there's an opportunity there for ring-ins to try and just come in and throw their support when they don't know much as well. But Damo, one of the things you mentioned there was about once you saw the body worn. I think I came to the conclusion that something was seriously wrong, and I was far more removed from it than everybody else, obviously. But I did know the opinion of Major Crime, and there's so many people in there that I highly respected, and and they'd earned my trust, and I'd earned theirs. And I knew when it got taken out or moved up to DPP, that I knew then that something was seriously wrong, because when you're talking about Major Crime, they are some of the top detectives in Australia. They are some of the best. They are diligent. They are impartial. I can't speak highly enough for them. So that's when my concern really kicked
Yeah,
in.
and
mate,
those Major Crime boys, they're the ones that cleared me initially in Alice. Well, they
Yeah.
got flown down. They cleared me, and then they kind of got removed without getting told that they were being removed, and a new team got set up.
Well, mate, and straight away, I was the same, because I'd worked intimately with a lot of those detectives. I've been involved in quite a number of major crimes, working completely literally in the same, sitting next to them in the same job, doing the same role, admittedly in regional areas where major crime have come down for a major crime. And I just held them in the highest regard. They were just outstanding. So that's why for 2 years I was going, Zach Rolfe has done something wrong here. And I was fucking wrong. So for 2 years with no knowledge, well, what would I know? I was sitting in Darwin. I had no fucking idea what happened in the job. But that it was my trust in major crime, and I think that's hurt them a lot, because it had nothing to do with major crime.
No.
It was nothing to do with the major crime detectives, but I didn't know that. I thought major crime had been the ones who've gone, shit, we've got no option. We have to do this.
Well, that was the thing, because everyone got forced to sign NDAs. So even the major crime guys weren't supposed to even talk about the fact that they got taken off the job.
Yeah, That's
So
extraordinary.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Yeah, I don't think
It
we
was
talked about that.
almost
So the
silly.
investigators, the initial investigators, all got made to sign. They got forced to sign NDAs,
Yeah,
so they
yep,
couldn't talk about their opinions
yeah,
that it was a justified shoot, and they couldn't
yeah.
talk about the fact that they were removed from the
For
investigation.
those who
Saying
don't
that.
know, we're talking about an NDA is a legal contract. It's a non-disclosure agreement. Basically, um, you legally, if you ever were to speak about that matter, you've signed a legal contract
Mm,
and you face consequences. And within the police force, that is potential dismissal. Well, it would have been dismissal if
yeah,
any of
yeah.
them had spoken out, they would have been dismissed. So but it's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. Everything we
yeah,
deal with is confidential.
Mm,
Um, no one goes out and spruiks about a major crime investigation, but to be made to sign a non-disclosure agreement, I personally have never heard of that. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but
yeah.
I've never ever seen anything like that in my life. And that also massively, as a detective, massively piqued my interest. Just like, what the hell is going on there?
Mm.
yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, but look, mate, I must apologise for those couple of years where I went, nah, something must have gone wrong. Something's
No,
gone wrong.
I don't think you should, because I think that was my opinion, because I was able to take myself far enough back when I saw
Mm,
that support. I was like, these people shouldn't support me, because I think we've talked about the default truth that most humans have. The default truth, if there's an organization that you should trust, you just trust it. That's how society works. When you go to a cafe and someone says this is how much the coffee costs, you just accept that.
yeah.
So when when a cop gets arrested for murder by the police force and it was all on footage, most people should step back and go, well, we should be able to trust that police force, and therefore
Yeah.
something wrong should have occurred. So I in a different, like, even in my own situation, Barb's, I'd agree with your opinion for the first 2 years. I'd be
Yeah.
like, based off the evidence that people have right now, or the information, sorry, that people have right now, they shouldn't really be supporting me unless
Yeah.
they know me and they knew my level of
Mm,
professionalism and they knew my level of skill. But then once the evidence starts coming out, that's when it starts. You're allowed to, like, start making up your own opinion a bit more. Because
Yeah.
initially
right.
there was nothing. There was nothing for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
When I
right.
saw the body worn, I must admit the first question I asked is, well, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
Like, where's
Mm.
the problem? So what from that made them think that was a murder? Well, show me more. There must be more. There's got to be more.
Yeah,
Like, that's not what happened. They wouldn't charge him for murder for that. That's a fucking training video. Like, where's the rest? And then
yeah,
there was no rest. That was it. And it was like, oh wow. It was like
yeah,
having your foundation destroyed by a jackhammer.
yeah.
Where you can always come back to your solid base. And it was like it
And that's
was
moral. That's moral injury. That's what we were talking about earlier. That is
yeah,
literally the definition of, like, well, basically a perfect example of moral injury, where,
yeah,
or I think we were talking about in regard to PTSD. It's not from the incidents; it's from the treatment by the organisation. When
yep,
you feel that level of that foundation being destroyed by your organisation, that's moral injury, and that's what
yeah,
has a lasting effect. Um,
yep,
Luckily for me, I didn't look at the organisation with, and probably because of my experience at the army, I didn't look at the organisation as a necessarily as at the organisation as a necessarily good, noble thing. I looked at the job that way, but I had a
mm,
separation in my head between the job and the organisation. The organisation
yeah,
was it's just a bunch of people that at that time were climbing ladders, trying to get
yeah.
one
And
up. So
unfortunately,
when that
you can.
foundation got broken, it wasn't really there for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it would have devastated me because
Mm,
um, I found in the Northern Territory Police when I joined in 2007. I remember going, "Oh my god, I found my people!" Like
mm,
I
Yeah.
loved the job. I loved it. I lived for it. I had faith in everyone. The bosses that we met, the big bosses, they were
mm,
good leaders. They were inspirational people. The Commissioner of Police was an absolute gentleman. Um,
yeah,
I remember those early, and look, I was 24, 25 years old. I was still young, but I remember just going, this is an extremely moral, we're doing a hell of a job. This is amazing. I can't believe this shit. You know, it would have devastated me because I
yeah,
was different. I actually felt I had total trust in the Northern Territory Police because I
Mm.
had no evidence to think otherwise. I hadn't seen
Yeah.
anything else. Yeah, I'd been the subject of internal investigations that I thought were a bit harsh, but that was individuals, and I went, "Oh, that's a bit rough," and whatever else. But
Yeah.
it was still, I still had that. Oh, I don't know if it was naivety. It was just because I wasn't naive. I expected people to do wrong. Sorry, Schultze, you go.
But it's probably a
Yeah,
bit of a
mate.
different organisation then as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, like, I completely agree with you, Damo. Like, when I joined the police, it was that same thing. We had some really great leadership, and that was the foundation that we built ourselves on. Doing the right thing for the right reasons, and they always had your back. If you didn't, they gave you a smack, which
yeah,
was rightly so, because I mean we are learning and all that sort of thing. And it's when that foundation cracks is when you start to, I suppose you get a sense going, what's happened, what's changed,
Mm.
and probably a lot of it is leadership. Leadership, unfortunately, I think back then, as you said, Zach, they made the right choices,
Mm.
for the right reasons. And I think later on there was too much political influence, or I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole, but we're not going to. But it
yeah.
just, yeah, it just, I don't know, it destroys your faith, I think, a
Mm.
bit. But in saying that, the faith that I had, and a shout out to Major Crime, because they did the right thing for the right reasons. They looked at the evidence, they were impartial,
Mm.
and I
Well,
think they.
that's a good thing that I probably should make mention of because I'm probably talking too negatively about it. Is that there are a number of people involved in this investigation who did stand up and they did do the right thing, but they have been silenced by the NDAs specifically. So it's a legally binding thing that they
Yeah,
cannot speak out against. So there are a number of, and you could probably say dozens of cops involved in this who have stood up and either put their opinions forward in stat decks notes or other ways, um, refusing to be involved in the investigation once it went the way that they didn't believe in, or at least putting their opinion forward initially that they believed that there was no evidence for a charge or that it was a justified shoot. There are lots of cops that did that and then they were removed. A lot
mm.
of them were actually and then received that much pressure that they had to leave the police force. So
Mm.
there are a lot of cops that did that, but then they were silenced by the organisation, and they probably don't get any airtime because they're unable to
They
speak.
can't.
They
Yeah,
They
can't
can't talk.
speak. Yeah,
that's right. And just to add on to that before we go on to the next question, the problem is the police force. It damaged the police force significantly because they've lost a lot of experience
mm,
from those members, which is probably a real trauma to the police force and the people joining now. They don't have
yeah.
that good leadership and good support when they join. So it's been very damaging to the NT
Mate,
police.
it's impossible to quantify the brain drain, which is a very
Mm,
simplified word, but they lost hundreds of years of experience, and not just experience, extraordinary coppers were lost through that period of time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
anyway, I think we need to move on because we've bloody got a few questions to go, mate. We need
We're still going. So the next one, Zach, did you feel the NT police gave you enough support in terms of training, mental health, and resources to handle the realities of the job?
No, I don't think so. I think you can handle it, but I think the base level of training and resources that are given aren't good enough to maybe you can perform the job to a level that's accepted, but not one that I think should be accepted. I think the people that shine in the job really they take a lot of training or education from other aspects of their life, or they're doing it individually outside of work hours. Um, but I think if you were to do the bare minimum and accept the training and education from the police force, I don't think that's enough. I think you really have to find at the current stage you have to find it elsewhere, like what I did. Um, I had a lot of training before. I had a lot of training during externally education as well. So yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think many police forces do. Um, it goes into a lot of what we spoke about before, I think previously. I think that the police should completely rejig their system and have constant, nearly upskilling, constant training, be it daily or be it in a deployment period rotation. But I just don't think the training's there at all.
Yeah.
Mate, I couldn't agree more there because for an organisation that is constantly operational, obviously we do annual requals on firearms, annual requals on defensive tactics. Obviously, you're getting a lot of operational experience, and that's great. That's good. I was lucky to do a lot of courses. There are courses, of course. There are things you can do. There is training once you're out of the college, but as far as just here's a new skill that's been trained out, let's train it out. I remember training days being, we would get, we'd have to do some online courses or have to do something else, or we'd just go, can we just be left alone so we can catch up on our investigations?
Yeah.
It was not done well. And the only place that really had investigation days were Alice Springs and Darwin. I never had training days anywhere else. Everything was operational. But I think you're right. I don't have the solution. I don't like providing problems without solutions.
Well, I think I've got a solution for it, and I've thought about it a lot. And this is what I think.
Yep.
If I was in charge of the police force right now, this is exactly what I'd do. And I know that it would immediately create problems or backlog elsewhere. But if you fix the organization internally, then those problems long term, short term pain, long term gain. So if I was in charge of the police force, immediately I would put this in place and figure out obviously how to do it properly with as best as possible with the manning, because it would cost extra manning. But I would immediately put in a rotation period, especially for frontline police, where if they spend, let's say, 8 months on the road out of the year, and then they spend 4 months. So some special forces units do a 4-month deployment. They come back for a 4-month recovery period, and then a 4-month build-up period, 4-month deployment. So I know we couldn't do that because that would just be, you'd be off the road for too long. But if you took something like that and put it in, 6 months of the year, you go like, I don't even know what the maths is right now. We're drinking beers and tequilas while we're speaking for the audience. So my maths isn't as good as it could be. but there's 12 months in a year, and if we divide that into a certain number, so you're on the road for like 8 months, and you've got 4 months of 2 months recovery, 2 months upskilling again, where you do have that rest from the road, but those 4 months off, you actually are upskilling. And if you needed, maybe part of your healing recovery period is for a 2-month period, you're doing community like positive related engagement. Like you're still working, but you're doing something that's positive rather than you're responding to the worst days of people's lives. But I would change it immediately. I would change it to like a little deployment period. And then I would even consider doing something like daily. In the army, you start every day with PT. And yes, that might make your shifts a bit longer. But I think the organization could improve so much if there was a bit of group PT, be that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, be that wrestling, be that boxing, something that just improves you as not only a human, but as a cop. So like, I would look at doing that because that would rebuild that community and that culture that I heard about as a police force. Because I hear the old boys be like, and you guys joined up, you were in there at the same period that I was in there. So that like that overlap of looking back when the organization was like something to be proud of. I never saw that. I'm like, how do you build that back up? And I think it only is by that kind of like forced, group PT, group hardship, group upskilling. You create that through that training. So that's what I would do immediately. So that and the 4 months off would actually be high level education and situational based training. So you are getting better every single year. And yes, the manning would be an issue, but eventually if you fix the police force, then you're not having retention issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to keep people in. You're going to have people coming back. The police force is going to be happy. People aren't going to be on sick leave all the time. And you're going to get people that want to be at work.
Yeah.
And then if you've got all these external factors whinging at the police force, you can't worry about that until you fix the police force. So that's what I would do.
Well,
and I think
sorry, mate, you go. Yep.
Yeah, you're right there. I mean, the short-term pain versus long-term gain. And I think that's important. There's a couple of things that, like I mentioned before, they've lost a lot of experience, and that's a lot of experience that's really good where you could have those people training the younger cops about some of the stuff they've gone through. Damo and I said, we used to get them in the police club, where you just bounce off and actually learn and build off the experience of those officers. And I think, it's very important because then you do build a camaraderie. You build that resilience as a team, and you feel like you're in it together. And that's what we felt when we first joined. Damo.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think we've answered that one. We
Well,
could
I
go
think
on.
so.
Don't get me wrong. We could do an episode on every question, but we probably should.
We could, yeah.
Yeah.
It's we're not short of conversation, that's for sure. Well, okay, for number 6. So Zach, you've been the centre of some very public and controversial moments. How did the intense media spotlight and public opinion affect your outlook on policing and justice?
Look, I was probably already the kind of person that is kind of like colder, or like, don't get me, I don't walk around like a dark cloud, but you know how you like look at things a bit cynically. I was probably already that kind of person. Like I laugh at everything, but when I'm actually looking at something, I look at it a bit cynically rather than uh, straight off the bat, like positively. But it's probably just pushed me a little bit further that way. But I think I've mainly kept the same views on the media and on policing and justice, which on the surface, okay, so from media and justice, negative. I had negative views before. I have negative views now. Policing at its core, we've talked about. I still have the highest view of policing. I think it's the best job we could do. Still do. On the organisation, my view of the policing versus the police organisation are completely different things. But policing, my opinion, hasn't changed at all. If anything, it's even stronger. But the justice and the media and stuff, kind of the view is just the same. Like we know what the media is. It's just they want clickbaits. Justice systems, not really the justice system. Not
It's a
really.
justice industry.
Exactly. So like my opinion on that hasn't changed.
Yeah. Damo?
Geez, that was quick. No, I got nothing to add. What
Yeah, that
would
was a
I add?
quick one.
I 100% agree, and I have nothing further to add. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and same here. Like, you're dead right. I completely agree with everything you said. And I feel exactly the same way. The media and the justice system, you get used to it because you never get what you think should be the outcome. Very rare occasions
Yeah.
you get something that's close, but
Just an example there, mate. I always love the term agreed facts. So they're not the
Yeah.
facts; they're the agreed facts.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we've got all this bullshit, and we can't quite get enough evidence, so we'll agree on this bullshit story, and that'll go with it. So it's agreed
Yeah.
facts. It's just ridiculous. There's no truth in it. It's a legal industry. Anyway, we'll leave that alone. But yeah, I think we move. Yeah.
All right, mate. So, what's the hardest truth you've had to face about policing, about yourself, your colleagues, or the system as a whole?
I think the hardest truth I've had to face was probably, I think it's probably just the disappointment you find sometimes. So I try to just take a step back wherever I can, and look, it's like what we're talking about with the supporters and stuff like that. If I get too emotionally invested in why people do certain things, I can't like if I can't control it, if I can't control their actions, then I shouldn't worry about it at all. But if I want to inject myself into the question and into those feelings, it would be because some of the things occurred during the coronial, particularly. But I understand why my colleagues did this. So pressure was put on my colleagues to say certain things, to go down a certain path, such as, mate, you could call it as this, rolling over on me, or because there's two narratives in place. Am I a reckless, violent cop, or is what I did fine? Was the shooting fine? basically. And it was a lot easier for colleagues to roll over. And some did. Some did roll over. And I understand why they did it. There's financial pressures in the job. There's a lot of pressures, be it financial or professional, or a lot of other the personal pressures being put on you. And the thing that was presented to them was you can roll over and you can get basically a free pass, or you stand up for what the other side is, like I would say, like the truth, or stand up for me or whatnot, and then you're going to get smashed. Look, a lot of boys did stand up for it, a lot of boys didn't. And I guess that was just a disappointing thing to see, that how easy it was to break some of the boys. But like, such is life. I understand the pressures that was put on them. I actually don't even take it personally. I just don't need them. Like, if you're, I can't trust someone who I believe is weak, unfortunately, because when you get that peer pressure, when you get that pressure from anywhere, if you can be manipulated, I don't see how you can be trusted. And I'm not saying that, like, if you're weak, you're a bad person. I just, from my, like, and it's probably more so a consequence of just the life I've had, and this incident even more so, that if you're not strong, you cannot be trusted, because if someone puts pressure on you, you break.
Yep.
So that's a thing that I saw from the incident within the colleagues. You see some people that you think might be strong, and you go, oh, they broke easy. And all it takes is, like, you look at the not even any of my personal colleagues, you look at the 5 senior cops who lied on their stat decks about me, called me a liar. And you, like, take away whatever whatever they were talking about, whatever they lied about, but they lied for the bosses to throw another cop under the bus. And he's like, oh, I expect that from the bosses. Don't expect it from the boys. But that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I think that was, and this is where, for me, a bit of moral courage in this whole thing comes out for me, because some of those blokes I consider good friends, but they did the wrong thing. We haven't named them. We're not throwing their name out there. And
again, I understand why they did it. Pressures.
yeah,
There's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure.
But I don't agree with it.
There's a shit ton of pressure there.
Yeah.
But I think they will look back on life and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But at the time,
it won't feel right in their stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go back to one of your comments, Zach, in one of the first episode, I think it was. You never really know who a person is until you've gone through hardship with them, and that really does paint a story. I just a quick one. I remember, I think it was 2009 or something. There was a number of cops are under investigation for an email that was sent out, and
Yeah.
and I mean, really, I mean, it was just a done thing back then. There was nothing really overly serious about it, but the police force were just trying to make a mark and an example, so to speak. I remember one of the cops, who was a very, very good mate of mine. He was really worried because he was right in the firing line of this. And I turned to him one day and I said, mate, if they throw you under the bus for this, I'll hand in my resignation. And he kind of looked at me strange and he said, well, why would you do that? And I said, because I would not be part of an organisation that cannot see the wood for the trees. I said, I believe in this organisation. I believe in what it stands for. And if I don't stand up, then who else is? So, and I think
there's some fucking good boys like that. Mark Casey got fired, and it got decided there was an unlawful dismissal, I believe. But I'd never met him, and he wrote an open letter to the media, basically rubbishing the treatment in the investigation that I had. He was still a cop at the time. He had a family that needed his paycheck, and he did that, and he got fired for it and lost his pay immediately. And that was kind of the thing that you're talking about, Schultzy. Like, I saw that. That was before I wrote an open letter to the media. And I kind of saw that and I was like, well, how the fuck could I let him suffer on behalf of myself without doing the same? So I was like, I don't even know him. I was like, I had to jump in the hole with him. So that's when I wrote, because he did it first. Like, he was the man. He did it first. And I was like, I got to suffer with him, because I can't let him suffer without.
No, that's right.
me,
Yeah.
because he's doing it on behalf of me. So I jumped in the hole with him, kind of thing. We both got fired.
Mate, it's amazing you mentioned him because he showed the most incredible moral courage I've ever seen of any human in my life.
Yeah, and I've never met it. Like I never met him before that.
I'd met
He
him.
just did. He just did what was right.
Yep. He just. I've never seen anybody go, I could say nothing and stay in this job, but I refuse to not comment on what is unjust, what is not correct.
Yeah,
And he did. And mate, I know Mark Casey. I don't know him well,
yeah,
but I was blown away by that. And
yeah.
another
He's
person
a
I mentioned
man.
to do with that, but it was a fellow called Leith Phillips. He was another fellow who was
Yes. Yeah,
extraordinarily morally courageous, and
yeah.
also under the bus.
And he got
So
walked out of
these
the
are two men
station.
who, hey,
He got walked out of the station after 20
yeah,
something years. He got fired on the spot, walked out of the station.
which is just
Insane.
disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
Yeah,
Insane.
but I mean, yeah, we don't do negativity, but you've got to mention it. You've got to.
You got to
We all
mention
just
it.
throw in there. We've all just said that we
Yeah.
believe in policing. We believe in the right thing. You have to call this stuff out. What we're doing now is not being negative. We're not throwing out problems without solutions. We're not whinging. We're saying that the profession is highly honourable, done well, done poorly. Good cops should be calling this shit out, and that's what we're doing. And we're not. None of us are cops, but we were,
Yeah.
and we're calling that out. And I think that's why this is important. But yeah, shit,
also
mate. Next question. What do you got? We're going to be here for 5 bloody hours.
and look, the police won't actually improve until people do really start standing up. That's what
Well, on that note, can I just, very quick segue. I will just shout out for moral courage and for standing up and going against the grain in policing and very current. There was a police acting commander in Victoria this week called Wayne Cheeseman who stood up, poured a pile of rocks on the floor and said, this is what was thrown at police. This is despicable. And he called it out. He went against the media and said, and all of the violence came from the left. And he came out and he called it out bloody was. And I hope for
And
Christ
the media chopped it and edited
it.
Yeah.
The media
However,
chopped it.
politics aside, that man got up there and just called it. That was moral courage. Everything he said was completely correct. And a shout out as well. I can't remember his name, but the president of the Police Association in Victoria backed him basically. And I thought, wow, well done, Victoria. I didn't expect that. That was spectacular. So that was good moral courage. That was out there. And I hope to Christ the new commissioner, Mike Bush, backed him for that because that was, I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was good to go.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, telling the truth even when people don't want to hear the truth.
Yep, absolutely.
So the next one, Zach, if you had a chance to sit down with a critic who strongly opposed you or your actions, what would you want to say to them?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Oh, it is a good question.
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't want to sit down with anyone like that because I can't be bothered. But if I was in that situation, because I've been in situations where people obviously come up to me in the street and they kind of like, they're 400 kilos overweight and they tell me what they would have done in this situation kind of thing. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, cool, mate. Yeah, thanks, see ya.
That's the old,
but
your mouth says UFC, but your body says KFC, motherfucker.
Exactly. Yeah. But honestly, if I was sitting down with a critic, I think you can talk forever and you can tell them all the studies say this and studies say this and this and this. If I had to, I would cut to the chase and be like, hey, you don't even give me a pair of medical scissors. Go get your toughest friend and try and put me in handcuffs and just figure it out. That's all I would say. I was like, give me a marker pen, give me anything. Just even if you're a cop and you criticize what I do, I don't think you've been in a real fight before. Because Walker was the same size as me. It was 5'9", it was a few kilos lighter. So that's what I would say. I would just like to say that. I was like, try, because it doesn't sound nice, but like people do not understand violence. So the arguments that these people had, they were like this millisecond by this millisecond on this angle, we don't think the blade would cause this. I'm like, oh yeah, but in real actual violence, I don't even need the blade. I can knock you out easy, and I can stick my thumb through your eye. I can do this to you. So if you don't understand violence because you've never been in a fight or you've never done high level training, like what's your opinion even worth? So I think like going down a little like passionate hole, but that's what I would say. Like have a crack. Like let me show you, because I think that occurs with a lot. I think there's been some reporters in America who have gone through force training with simunition in America, and they find out very quickly what that level of stress does to their reaction, and then they change their opinion straight up. I think the people that criticize me just don't understand it.
They've got no idea, mate.
They got
They've
no idea. So that's what I would say. I'm like, if you could, and if you can, if I had a knife and you could karate me and sick, that's mad. Teach me, teach cops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Teach cops. Like I think most cops are like that. If you are confident enough and good enough to teach us how to disarm someone with a edged weapon 10 times out of 10, that's mad. We all want to know that. Until someone can teach us that, you can't. So I think, basically I
No
just
one
like,
is ever going to, because they've proven it's impossible.
exactly, it's impossible. So if I was to sit down with a critic, I'd be like, we all know the laws in Australia. We can one-on-one have a fight if we're not in public.
Yeah.
I can have a fight, figure it out, and then you learn a little bit more.
Bit of skin in the game. Everyone's got a
Let's have a
plan.
little
They're going to smack them the gob when their adrenaline kicks.
Exactly. Bring a mate, so it's the same as the situation I was, and see if you can. Because if I touch you once with my hands, then we transfer that situation to if I had a blade. If I touch you once, that's it. You might be the end.
Yeah,
you might be dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the best, I mean, we did this, and you know this, and Schultzy knows this. We did an exercise with edge weapons because we asked the same question as oblivious police recruits. So why don't we do this? And the answer was no problem. Hold this pen. What I want you to do is to draw on me in all the places you think might kill you, or might kill me, while I try and wrestle the pen out of your hands. And what happens is immediately the person defending themselves grabs the hand that's holding the weapon, and what the other person does is use their loose hand to take the pen out of their other hand and starts drawing across your neck and drawing all over your guts and everywhere else. And straight away you realize that if you try and physically hand-to-hand fight a person with an edge weapon, boy, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So that's why the worldwide training, the worldwide number one aspect training on this stuff is that you space yourself, you give yourself a lot of distance between an edge weapon and yourself, and you draw a firearm. You've got a ballistic weapon that's going to impact them from a distance that puts you in a safe place away from that edge weapon. Why are we still talking about this in 2025?
Yeah.
And the thing is, why should we? We're trying to justify this shit to people who don't give a fuck. The thing is that everyone in the know knows this. It's an edge weapon will kill you quick. You don't need any IQ. You need no training. You need no ability. If you get a very quick stab wound to somewhere, it penetrates. You've got arteries very close to the outside of your skin, all over your body. You cop a slash there, you need to very rapidly control that bleeding. If you get one in your carotid artery, I'm going to your funeral, mate.
We've all seen that footage from the Brisbane shopping mall. But that's another thing that people talk about, like, how the complacency of how cops get too close to people. In everyday situations, we get too close to people that we don't trust.
Absolutely.
Through that default of trust. When you're just walking on the street, when you're in public transport, you're always too close to people you shouldn't trust, or you don't trust because you don't know. So we're always in those situations. It's just how life works. So that's another thing. You can't be on all the time. So
no,
that's right.
Yeah, there's no point dealing with those people.
I mean, I spoke to the job. I was very fortunate the day that I went to arrest that guy, and he pulled two knives out. I was right next to him. I was grabbing hold of his arm. Luckily, he ran away 10 meters and then threatened me. If he'd quickly stabbed me, I was by myself in a remote community. I'm fucked. So it's just one of those things. And people that don't understand. Just a quick one as well. I mean, we used to do simunition, with people where they stand 10 meters away and you had a paint round in your Glock. And you're sitting there, you know that they're going to run at you and pull a knife out, but you can't do it until they pull a knife out and start running. And I can tell you they're very, very close to you by the time you actually pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's from 10 meters away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whereas, I mean, Zach, you were right next to the person. So it's
Yeah.
a whole different scenario. Um,
What do you reckon?
yes. Yeah, old mate, I've got 4 more to go. So, so, so basically, it's from the same person. If you could be the commissioner of police, what 5 changes would you make?
We talked about it a little bit. I would put in some form of deployment cycle with a rest and recovery period and an upskilling period per year to get people off the road. Um, I'd think about putting in either forced PT or just free. Maybe it would start off as free PT, being probably, look, I think freestyle wrestling would be best, but Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is most easily accessible in Australia. But I think I would provide that because the cost that you're giving, if you had like, imagine in every station, the larger stations at least to start off, if you had a PT session in the morning, PT session in the hour, everyone's welcome. You put it in a place so you can come before day shift or before evening shift. I think a lot of cops would get involved.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a start before you start doing forced PT, perhaps. Um, if I was in the NT police, I would immediately destroy professional standards command and start that from scratch. And basically, I think I'd start looking at if you wanted to be in PSC, you were immediately not allowed to be in PSC.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to be there, I would be very much curious about why you wanted to be there. If it was for any reason other than wanting day shift, that there's a legitimate reason if you've got family and stuff like that. We'll do those 3 things. I think I would. You really just have to grip up because the culture has to change from the bottom up and the top down. So if you're the commissioner, you can control the top down. You start having to change that culture for the best and just start standing up for the boys and girls. But that standing up for them, you also have to give them the ability to perform to the highest level that deserves to be stood up for. So you have to improve the training and the education that the police have for sure. So I think I'd have my hands full just trying to give the police force the training and education that they deserve while trying to defend them. I'd cut away all politics and just start looking at I would focus on the police force and start giving the boys and girls the ability to do their job. And as you said, Barbs, it's a fucking hard job with some very dire consequences. So people are coming to work. You go to a normal job, you don't have this heaviness, this fear of the consequences. Policing is there, so you've got to kind of counter that with more positivity, more good things.
Yeah. We got you.
See,
We got
yeah,
you.
exactly. You really have to counter that. I think those are the things that I'll focus on initially.
Yeah.
I'll give you a tricky one. How would you deal with potential corruption, and how would you deal with bad behaviour? Basically, how would you deal with matters that do need investigation? Because we've got to be real about this.
Yeah,
You've also got there is a disciplinary matters. People do the wrong thing, including cops. So
I
what would
think
you do there? And that's
I
very
think
devil's
in
advocate.
the I think the NT it's probably is too hard to deal with it internally because it's such a small environment. Everyone knows everyone. Insofar as okay, I might not know the PSC investigator that's investigating me, but did they have an influence with the commissioner that the commissioner has an influence on? So I think if it is going to be handled internally, I actually agree with the public call out for some civilian oversight, but I think that civilian oversight should be experts. So I think
Yes.
there should be a board or a panel of civilian experts, psychologists and psychiatrists, but experts in the psychology and physiology of combat, which we keep talking about, actual experts in that degree. So they can look at the footage and they've got more expertise than a fucking cop. A lot of these guys are ex-coppers and stuff that go down that path, the university path after leaving the job. So they can look at let's say a complaint of someone's actions and they can understand more so legally, professionally, and from an academic perspective as well, what's occurring. As well as you've got that element of the guys and girls on the ground. And if you have to do it from like treat it as a actual study, so it's like you have like blind studies and stuff like that, so the people don't even know who the person is that's been complained against, like
Yeah.
to
Yes.
add that level of fairness.
Yeah.
So you don't know who the person is that's got the allegation against them, so that therefore that allegation cannot be biased by personal opinion about that person. So I think it's doable for sure to deal with it. I think it does need to be independent, and therefore it does need to be blind. And you have to have that expertise there. I don't think the expertise is there within the police force, from the NT police that I've seen. So at the moment, I would outsource it, but I would outsource it and I would get experts on.
Yeah.
I would still, obviously, I'd still build up. When I said it before, I'd like destroy PSC. I would build it up again, but I'll try to have it at that goal of perhaps professional standards command would be that goal of if you like fuck up, we're going to be at the level that if you fuck up, we're going to fix it and make it like you. We're going to train you to be better, so you don't do that again.
Yeah.
If it goes beyond that to a potentially criminal act or one that actually requires discipline, but discipline should still be able to we should still be able to uptrain you then, upskill you again after that.
Yeah.
Because criminal will maybe get outsourced, but at the start, even at the start of my career, when you fucked up, I would go to your sarge and he would be like, "You fucked up here. You do this to do better."
Yeah.
Like that's a good outcome. If you get taught how to do better, that's a good outcome. So that I think PSC should be doing that. You fucked up here. Here's some actual upskilling. Here's some actual training that would assist you to get up to scratch. And as soon as that becomes criminal or potentially criminal, maybe we outsource.
Yeah. And even have it as not even professional standards, performance standards command. If something gets referred through, and even if they're reviewing matters, when was the last time someone got a Valour Award in the Northern Territory Police? I'll tell you,
actually,
man.
I do know that.
An extraordinary long time ago. Tell me.
So no, two dudes actually did recently get the Valour Medal, which was the highest medal that can be given for bravery in the on duty, and it was when the Darwin shotgun shooter guy.
Yes. Yeah.
When he handed himself in. So when Ben Hoffman surrendered to police.
Yeah, and I know both
the two coppers that accepted his surrender.
Yeah.
Unarmed, got the highest Valour Award.
Yeah. So
that's the win.
Yeah. And I know them. And
hey, nothing against them. Nothing against them at all. They didn't hire him. They didn't put himself up for that award.
No, they didn't. No. The trouble was, I tried to put two members up for a Valour Award for a job in Darwin, and I thought their courage was extraordinary because they took on a mentally ill person who had a cane saw. So the really rugged saw. It's a curved blade, probably 60 centimeters long. If he hit you with it, the damage would be extraordinary. So it's a minimum taser standard Glock response. Because the man was in mental health crisis, they came up and they didn't use any weapons at all. They tackled him to the ground, very rapidly snatched the saw away, put themselves at extraordinary risk. And throughout the whole thing, they then immediately flipped to compassion, much like someone else I know, Zach, just quietly. So as their shift supervisor, and when I turned up, they basically were enacting their plan, and I just stood back and watched. I put them up for some kind of commendation. And the shit show loops I had to jump through. If I wanted to put them up for a disciplinary matter, it was a bloody blue team report. Yeah. And it would take one sentence and bang, PSC would have it. So it should be a performance standards. It should be positive and negative.
Yeah.
And it should be primarily educational. Primarily in the negative, it should be educational. Right. Do you understand why we're investigating this matter? I want you to relax. Come in here. We're in plain clothes. You're in plain clothes. Let's talk about this. Your chain of command's there as well because you don't work for PSC. You work for your sergeant as a constable or as a sergeant. You work for your senior sergeant. So you should be within the chain of command. And then do you understand now why this matter's gone through? And explain it and go, what's your thoughts on this? And back and forth it. Instead of this.
Improve people.
Improve people. Instead of putting them in this mini prison with absolutely no what's the word? No process. No due process. whatsoever. And
Yeah,
then no outcome date. Like you just sit in limbo for the next 8 months while your whole livelihood hangs on the.
exactly. And if we can't get you, we're just going to give you remedial guidance so we can still tick the box anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just rough.
Like,
And I
yeah,
think
it
that's
is.
I can see every police officer nodding in Australia right now, going, "Oh my god, yeah."
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't be so punitive and just held. Police can't be held to
nah.
this
I know
inhuman
a
ability.
couple boys and girls who, like, for example, they want to transfer. If you want to transfer interstate, you can't have any active investigations going at the time, or at least you couldn't when
Yeah,
I was in there. And these boys are fucking good cops. And yes, they have the right to transfer interstate for personal reasons and whatever they want.
Mm.
But they would be prevented from transferring because they're being investigated for, no joke, 1.5 years for swearing on camera.
yeah,
And then
Yeah.
the end result, remedial guidance. Try not to
yeah.
swear. You're like,
No,
mate, you've held me for 1.5 years,
Yeah.
prevented me from moving my family to where I want to live
yep,
for that.
Yeah.
You're like, how do you justify that? And how do you now, that person's going to want to work for you more?
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
no,
Hey,
But
one of the things also, this is to any bosses, or if you're in a leadership role, always commend good behaviour.
mm,
Um, I
oh,
don't think there's
thank you.
enough of it.
Yeah,
There is not enough of it in the police force. Everybody's quick to smack you on the bottom, but there's very few that actually send something up. And I'm just going to give a quick one. When I was in charge of the DV unit, there was a young Connie, and she did this exceptional work in one of the DV cases that got handed over to me. Basically, the point that nothing would have happened unless this woman spoke to this Connie. She was exceptional, and I made the point of actually writing a letter to my basically through my superintendent, and I said I want this to go on her personal file because the police force needs to understand what an exceptional job she did.
Mm.
And I have it on good authority. She still has that printout of that email up there, and she said it was one of the first times, and she'd been in the job for 3 years at that time, that anybody had ever spoken up for her.
but it's so true because I remember there was one job in Alton, so I'd come on for evening shift, so day shift had gone to it, but we heard about it very quickly. Again, a young girl, legendary cop. They got called to to an attempt suicide. So a young woman was attempting to kill herself currently at some shitty flats in town. So her and her partner attended, and immediately there was like a lot of like angry family at the front. Now
Yeah,
her goal is the potential victim who's trying to kill herself, the potential person who's subject who's trying to kill herself. She needs to see if that person's life is still there to be protected, and potentially save that person's life. So these people in the periphery who are angry and whatnot, they need to get the fuck out of the way.
yeah,
So she's at the front door of the unit trying to get in, to trying to assess this person if they're there and if they can be saved. And she's being prevented by this known violent offender, this male who's a lot bigger than her. He's arguing, won't let him in, and she's just had enough of it. So she just sprays him, smokes him, drops him, pushes past him, moves into the house. Unfortunately, the young woman had already hung herself. Now, this guy happened to be her, I think, a brother, but she had to do what she did because her main goal was to see if this woman could be saved. This woman had hung herself and was still hanging when she
yeah,
walked in. This had just occurred. So when we walk back to the station, she's getting fucking eaten out by getting smashed by the superintendent for spraying a family member that's deceased. And I'd heard about it, and I was like, no, no. I was like, not gonna occur. I walked into the muster room, and I was like, yo. I was like, you did the right fucking thing. I was like, you're a mad cunt. I was like, well done. And I looked at the super, and I was like, you scumbag, mate. Like,
yeah,
I was like, can you, one, this young girl coming off the street, like from union stuff, like going into a job like that, performing well, having the back of her boys and girls, and then just getting like smashed chewed out by a superintendent for like doing the right thing. And I was just like, not, like, no. And that, what you said last week, Schultzy, about these cops that get like some cops that go through the career nearly dodging, and not all of them, but some dodging
yep,
the real work. This super was one of them that in her whole entire career had attended less jobs than I had in my three years.
mm,
yep,
And she's like chewing out these cops for doing real work. And I was just like, you have to stand up for those cops who are
yeah,
doing the right thing. And you have to go praise that good work.
Yep.
You have to.
And
Yeah.
you know,
I
it
mean,
used to happen. It used to happen.
Mm.
I spoke of Greg Dowd. His name was Commander Greg Dowd. He retired basically when we joined, but there was a
yeah.
Mm.
crossover period. He'd been in the police force for God knows how long, a bloody long time. We joined in 2007. He was there. He was our commander at Catherine. And I remember him coming over he was a gentleman. He was a quietly spoken gentleman. And I remember he'd go through and just briefly, just quietly turn up in the morning. He was always there pretty early. He'd read through the jobs. And we were at the police club one morning. It was the end of our shifts, and it was probably, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning. The commander walks in, which is rare. So, and
Mm.
you know, there was a lot of prestige around a rank like that when we were,
Oh
bloody
yeah.
Proby Connie's 2 week or, whatever, a couple of months on the road. He walked in and he said, "Good morning, how you going?" And he walked straight past us, like we kind of half stood up to attention, sort of thing. And he walked straight in to the door inside. We used to sit just outside the club. It was all undercover, Catherine Police
Mm.
Club. He walked inside. He was in there. We didn't know what's Commander doing here. What's he doing at the club? Holy shit! What have we done? We in trouble? Holy bloody hell! And he walks back out, which straight away was not a great. Why are we thinking we're in trouble?
Yeah.
We've done nothing but good all night. And he walked back out and he goes, "Guys, I just want to thank you for last night. I've read those couple of jobs that you went to there, and we were stinking of pepper spray. We
Mm.
were bloody. One of us had a black eye. Like it was a big night. We'd had a rough, hard night." And he walked out and he
Yeah.
said, and he didn't tell us immediately that he'd bought us a carton of beer, but he said, I just want to acknowledge you. And he spoke very well. He's very professional.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge excellent work last night. I really appreciate it when you guys go above and beyond like you did last night. And just so you're aware, I've purchased a carton of beer and I've put my money in the till, and it's up on the wall for you. And enjoy it.
What a good
And
dude.
when you need a lift home, make sure that you contact the shift sergeant. And away he went.
Aye.
And we're
Yeah.
like, "Fuck yes, sir!"
That's leadership.
It was
What a good
magnificent.
dude.
Pat on the back, and he retired not long after that. But we thought
Mm.
that's it. That's like you've just
It
boosted your life.
doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, eh?
No.
Like there was nothing. There
The-
was a dude buying me a carton of beer 18 years ago, and I
Yeah.
still think about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact is that makes you, when you come in for the next shift, want to work even harder.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
just
not
that
hard,
bit
is
of
it?
encouragement.
It's
Hey,
not
it's not
Yeah.
rocket science, is it?
Yeah. We better keep
So-
cracking, Schultzy. What do you got?
I know. We've still got 3 more to go. Okay, Zach, would you encourage other young people to join the police based on how you were treated?
Yeah, I still would. I would say it depends on the person. I think we've all talked about it. Like I joined a bit later. I think I was 25. But yeah, I still 100% would. I just think you have to, because the training is not good enough at the moment, you have to ensure that you do your own personal training and education to make sure you are good enough for the worst case scenario. If you are involved in a situation like this, that you can survive and get through it legally and externally in your own life. So I still think it's the best job in the world. And again, if I could be anonymous, I'd still be doing it. But yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's yeah, mate. I totally agree. It's one of those things that I personally left for mostly personal reasons. It was, I was living interstate from where my family and my wife's family were, and where our kids didn't know their grandparents very well, and it was time to come back. I'd done 15 years. I must admit, your matter took a lot of wind out of my sails. But my wife had sort of had enough. We've been up there for a while, but policing is extremely noble. It was weird that Brett Meredith, of all people, who died in 2010, he and I've mentioned him on a previous podcast and in the Zero Limits podcast, he always said policing is an extremely noble profession done properly. Not corrupt wankers who are power-hungry fuckwits, but policing done properly. If you know that you've in a position of responsibility, you've got authority, of course you do, but you've got a shitload more responsibility. Done really well, it's a very, very noble profession, and I completely agree. And anyone who doesn't know, like who've got no experience, they jump on the bandwagon and police, blah, 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 blah. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no expertise. All 3 of us have said there's nothing special about us. We just did a job, and it's an extraordinarily noble profession. And I think The fact that we criticize certain aspects is us trying to improve what is a very noble profession. We're not
Yeah.
three worn out, burnt out, angry ex cops like we mentioned off air. We care about this stuff. We believe in it. We know that it's important. And the people on the ground who do the right thing will always have our support. Humans are humans. Not all humans are perfect.
Definitely.
But it is at its core, and adopting the principles of Sir Robert Peel, it is an extraordinarily noble profession.
Yeah. I think, like, just to back that up as well, Damo, and we'll probably talk about more on this on another podcast, but we just did a live show recently.
Yeah.
And one of the best parts about that live show was there's a number of young people that were joining or in the process of joining or wanting to join the police. And there was a couple of cops there from basically from VicPol, Northern Territory and
Queensland.
Queensland. And all of them supported people joining the police. And some of these people have been in for 30 years or more.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. It is such a noble profession. I would not knock any. I encourage everybody to, if you think you've got what it takes to join, and I think you're right, Zach. You still need to cut out the people that aren't going to cut it, because you can damage a police force by letting those people in, and we've seen that before. But look, if you wanna put your foot forward, then I strongly encourage you to join it, because it can be that police force that Damo and I knew back in the day. Do you know what I mean? And everything goes through its ebbs and flows. So you've just gotta keep on pushing. And I think it's an excellent job. It still to this day, it's the best profession I've ever done in my life.
100%. I think I probably should say, like, because we all know it, us three know it intrinsically, is that if the reason you are joining the police force should be that you want to help people that need help, you want to protect people.
Yep.
That should be your reason to join. If you've got a different reason, I don't know what that would be, but you should, that should be your reason for joining. If you want to help people that need help, protect people that need protection, that's it.
Yep.
Like, you
Yeah.
want,
If
if
you
that's
like
your goal,
controlling people, if you're someone who loves authority and you like controlling people, I'd say go and see a psychologist, because you're a mental
yeah,
case.
Yep.
yeah,
It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. It's about public. It is service, but it's also using your natural traits to protect, and sometimes that includes being violent. Sometimes you have to be violent. Sometimes you have to be not violent when violence is coming at you. So you got to change it up. You've got to have that protection of life and property as your absolute number one. And you've got to, it's a calling, and it's a vocation. It's not a job.
Yeah.
There's a lot to policing. It's psychologically difficult. You've got to have a good support network. There's a lot to it.
I think,
But
yeah,
it's a very noble profession.
it is. And I'll sit there and say, and I think I can say for all three of us, that if you're joining the job for power, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck
Like,
out.
yeah. If
Yeah.
you're joining because of what we believe and all that sort of thing, and what a majority of police believe, then yes, put your foot forward and go for it.
100%.
So, well, mate, now I think we're actually. No, we've got, sorry, second last one. Zach, how are you feeling after all that's happened? Like, basically now, how are you feeling? I know you've mentioned probably a little bit about it during this Q&A, but yeah, how are you feeling now?
I'm good now because we're so long on. I think for what probably the listeners don't know. So after everything went down, because it took so many years and it's been ongoing for a long time, I went back to the job for a minute, got fired. My dismissal appeal is still ongoing, but who knows how long that'll take. That's just something in the background. I don't think there'll never be the opportunity for me to be police again because of the situation. But after I left, I went and I went through a normal, I guess, transition period. I'd already transitioned from the army and felt that, like, loss of identity and all this kind of that. So I already had a step up of, like, I knew what that was because I was putting the job as my identity, not myself. So I'd already had a little, like, a preparation for that. Where then I'd spent the following years whilst I was in the police force knowing that the job wasn't who I am. It's just a job. So I'd already had that up my sleeve kind of thing. But I went through another like transition period trying to find work. But you're adding on the top of it that you're an ex-cop, ex-army person now, with not much on your resume that looks normal in the real world. So it was a hard transition period. Add on the media stuff up, it was real hard. So I ended up working on I applied for that many jobs. And I'd get through the process, and then at some point, you get accepted, and then someone would look at Google, and you get knocked back. So it's a lot of like getting it knocked back, getting it knocked back, getting it knocked back. Brother, it got to the point where I remember I applied to work just because I was the kind of guy I am. I feel like I need to have a job I need to have a job. I need to have a purpose. I need to be working. I ended up applying for work in an ice cream shop and getting knocked back. And I was like, Jesus. I was like, mate, I was like army, Afghan, cops, like BM, not even qualified to work in an ice cream shop. And I was like, fuck. So I was like, don't get me wrong, like I'm positive, but I was like, I had some hard days. I ended up laboring, working on a farm for a long time, and then I was just getting knocked back after job. So I ended up creating my own company, like my own like kind of like investigation kind of company, intel investigation company, and just put it into that because I couldn't get a job elsewhere. So I was like, I'll just create something. And it took a long time, but now, I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people, they get down on themselves, but they just need that purpose. And for me, my purpose was, it'd be awesome if I could get up every day and go out in the street and help people that need help. But that's not the hand that I've been dealt right now. So I'm trying to do that in my own way. At the moment, I can help the people around me. I can help myself. I can find jobs that help other people. So through my company now, I've got full-time work. So I got full-time work, got my missus, got my house, got my dogs. Life's good.
Yeah.
So it took some time. You just keep swinging. Just keep going until that's what I had to do. I just to keep little bit by little bit improve my situation until it went from a shit situation to like an all right one, and then eventually you're in a good situation, just making it better and better. So that's where I'm at now. Everything's
Mate,
good.
that's it's bloody magnificent advice for anyone in any state of life. Okay, things look shit. Don't try and eat an elephant in one mouthful. One bite at a time. Okay, we've got a problem. We need to overcome this.
brother.
It's positive. We're going to eat an elephant. All right. I'm going to need a knife and fork.
One
This is
bite
going
at a
to take a
time.
minute. So I'm
Well,
going to
I
eat that
started doing BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, cliche as fuck. I actually started doing it before it was like super cliche, because while I was in the cops, obviously I'd grown up boxing. I also knew the law, so I was legally allowed to punch people in certain instances. Obviously, it doesn't look good on body-worn video. Legally, I'm allowed to do it. So I would get investigated for it, and people go, "It doesn't look good." So I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll start learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to start wrestling people rather than relying on that, letting it get to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to win this fight. I need to do this."
Yeah.
And I had a really good coach, and he exactly the same thing. Like, how do you eat an elephant? And he told me, one time, he was like, "You're new to BJJ. Everything that's new is you're going to start off or end up very quickly in the shittest position you can be. Your mindset can't be to go from the shittest position to the best position. You have to think, what's the slightly less shit position that I'm in right now? How do I get to that? From there, how do I get to the next less shit position? How do I get to the next slightly less shit positioning? And then soon again, you're going from less shit to all right to good to going, how do I get into a better position? How do I get into a better position? So you just got to do it one bite at a time.
And that never stops. You might go from I'm in an awesome position. How do I do it better?
Yeah.
It never ends. I love it, mate. It's just, I tell you what, Zach, and I've said it to plenty of people. People have been asking me constantly, "Wow, you're interviewing Zach Rolfe," because you're very prominent in the media for a long time. And people have been asking me, "Oh, geez, what's it like? I mean, he must be crazy." All the rest of it was like, nah, the dude's fucking level. It's unbelievable. I fucking wouldn't be, but he is.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute credit, mate. It's just, I think the reason I have so much respect is because I get it. I've been in a very, very very minimal compared to what you're in investigative process. And I didn't know exactly what the outcome was going to be. I never thought I'd lose my job. There was no chance of going to prison or being charged. There was none of that. And that was stressful enough. I had a
Yeah,
young family.
I
Man,
always tell people, but that when they say you should, like, how do you deal with going through a murder investigation? How do you go deal with that coronial? I'm like, mate, you should date some of the girls I used to date. It's nothing compared to that.
oh, dearie me.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'll give
been
you
through the
some
hardest training there is.
murder trial ain't nothing
Yeah.
compared to that. Tell you
that's
what.
great.
I think we're up.
Oh,
What about the last one?
we are, mate. Yeah. I love that. That's good.
We'll leave that well alone, but it's a good point. I like it.
It's mate. I like your sense of humour. It is fantastic, and some of that is I know it's actually serious. But all right, now this one's I mean, yeah, it's an open ended question. This one, or double edged sword, so to speak. What kinds of corruption and on what levels did you come across in your time in the NT police?
Honestly, I think we've dealt with it. I think we've dealt with it. I think we've talked about it, and like I think what we've talked about has shown what could occur elsewhere that we did or like didn't see. But I think that's the examples that we've talked about are enough to be like that needs to stop across the board because it's not a silo incident. What's occurred in the investigation, what we've seen, it occurs elsewhere on different levels, and that pressure on different cops it has the same outcome, and that flow-on effect from you're breaking a police force or you're breaking a police officer, which then you're hurting a police force. Now you're hurting the community members that need that police force. That flow-on's there. So I think it's just the stuff we've talked about, but you know if it's occurring in this strand, it's occurring, or it has the possibility of occurring elsewhere. So I think that's what needs to be stamped out.
Yeah.
I'll ask a closed question, and I know the answer to this. Did you ever see any corruption in the rank and file?
No, no. Like
No.
I didn't see nothing because it would have been dealt with.
Yeah.
It would have been dealt with. One, we were too busy on the ground, and that's what I always thought.
Yeah, we were.
Why is PSC focusing on the street troops? I was like, us GDs, Ds, even the traffic boys and stuff. We're so busy going from job to job. We do not have time to be corrupt. Because if you're corrupt, you're going to knock off later. You got your paperwork to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, we don't have time for any of that shit. I was like, the guys have time up top.
Yeah.
That we don't deal with.
No, there was no, and I love that answer. It's like, did you ever see any? Don't get me wrong. We did an episode on this. There were a couple of coppers I worked with who were genuine criminals, but they're in jail, or they were in jail for a period of time. They actually got caught because humans are humans. You knew one of them well, and I admit, I was mates with a bloke, and he's still in jail. And rightly so, and I think he got a piss poor sentence, and he should have a shitload
100%.
more time. But that was a child sex offender. But when it came to, did you ever see like corruption in the job? The answer is fuck no. I saw people doing their best, turning up for work and just doing the best they could. I saw incompetence at the lowest level. I saw extraordinary competence. I saw just humans in a job that's bloody hard, just quietly, and that I'd say a vast majority of the population couldn't do for 10 minutes, especially in a place like Alice Springs. My God. So, the corruption, I would even say that the corruption, and we're not sitting here throwing allegations, and we're not negative people, but I would say that what I would consider to be behaviour that needs looking at is, like you say, much higher and possibly even not in the police force. I know there is things in the police force, but there's decisions made in government organisations, just public service, that I go, wow, that's a bit out there. If the coppers did that, they'd be screwed.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
I think the police are held to the highest level of account. They still get treated like it's the 1970s and they're bagmen, but we're held to an inhuman level of accountability. Like so much so that an honest mistake is treated like a crime. So, it's
If you want to talk about corruption, look at politics. Honestly,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not
So
looking
yeah,
inside a
but
department. You look at the
yeah,
top.
but that's the problem is, Damo. You're exactly right. The things that have happened in the past, they're judging us now, and there's none of that. There is absolutely none of
Oh,
that.
Mm.
God,
What?
no. You just
Yeah,
couldn't do it. Like, you
No.
couldn't do it. You'd have to
no,
be a
you couldn't.
genius.
No, the checks
Mm.
and balances are just enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you're getting cops locked up now for like stealing $10 from the fucking chalky drawer or some shit at work in the
yeah,
Yeah.
muster room. Like you're
yeah,
not on that's the ground level cops getting locked up for that shit. You're not
Yeah.
getting away with anything these days.
No.
no,
Don't get me wrong. Fuck them. But
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
not.
yeah,
Steal a
I'm
fucking
not,
ten
I'm not
yeah.
bucks,
talking about
especially
running a drug syndicate. Like
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
you steal $10 from the bloody police club. I'll tell you what, I want your head.
Well, you wouldn't get charged. You might get beaten up, but you won't get charged. Well, you probably wouldn't now, but you would have back in the day. Yeah.
Now, mate, before we finish up, Damo, have you got a question for Zach?
Yeah, I got a cracker, and this is extremely
Yeah.
serious. This is a really serious. This comes down to the whole conversation. All right.
Tell me.
Oh, hold on, Damo. Is this a funny one?
No, this is dead serious.
No, but
Yeah.
I know your
No,
face. I know exactly what you're thinking.
I'm deadly serious. This is extraordinarily important for the two ordinary cops. Hello, Zach. I
All
need
right.
I need a cartonable offence from you.
So is a carnival offence just like someone's had a fuck up?
Or maybe you have
It's
had a fuck
completely
up.
up to you, mate. It's
Yeah, but
either
I can tell
something
you
you
when.
saw or
I'm
something.
involved.
You better be. That's the main idea.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Yep.
You know when you think you're way funnier than you are. And
I think
you're
that
on
all the
time.
time.
Here's a situation. So me and my Sarge, there's an incident just down the you know the taxi rank at Coles, like only 200 meters from the
Oh
pub shop in
shit,
Alice
Dylan!
Springs.
No, mate, I picked up a human arm off that fucking road. I know it well.
It's a wild joint, that place. That taxi rank is a wild joint. Anyway, one night, I think about 2, 3 a.m., we get a call that multiple people have been stabbed at the taxi rank, the Coles taxi rank. So a few of us rock up, Sarge and I rock up. By that point, it's actually all right. 2 people have been stabbed. 2 males have been stabbed by a woman. Woman's there, still going off, but she's fine. The knife is actually still in one of the boys.
Jesus.
But by a few years into Alice Springs, this actually becomes fairly normal. And you can look at the situation and you go, well, look, no one's dying currently.
Hmm.
So opportunity to shed some light on the situation. So the woman's sorted. The 2 dudes have been looked after. Me and my Sarge end up looking after one guy. And we've obviously seen the blade in the other guy. And a Ambo is there. And she's from England. Turns out who don't use the inches and stuff like that. I don't know how long an inch is. So she goes, obviously we're holding pressure on the wound. She's trying to sort him out elsewhere. And she goes to us. We didn't know she was fresh. And she asked us how long the blade was. And me and my Sarge, obviously, we look at each other. It's time for a good joke. As old mate's just suffering from a punctured lung. We tell her, it's about 6 inches. And she goes, how long 6 inches? And we go, me and my Sarge.
Oh no.
Horrible. So this dude potentially dying. Me and my Sarge look at each other and go, well, man, 6 inches isn't the biggest blade you'll ever see, but it's big enough if you know how to use it. And he's and my Sarge's going, some people talk shit about a 6-inch blade, but it's above average. And she figured it out in 2 seconds. She looks at us both. She did not find it funny in at all. She looks at us both.
No.
She goes, you 2 need to fuck off right now. And I was like, fair enough. She's still trying to save lives. So we got in trouble for that a little bit, but it was fun. It was worth
That's tragic. Mate, paramedics I knew were way worse than us. We'd go guys, come on, pull
she
it
was
in.
she must have been first shift. Because we had a lot of paramedics from England coming over. There must be some transfer thing because the paramedics were good to go. A couple shifts in, she would have loved that joke.
Yeah,
she just didn't get it. She just didn't get it yet. She would have loved it.
Mate, the number of stabbings in Alice, I know you would have gone to more than me probably, and I went to shitloads of stabbings. And don't get me wrong, it's a frantic old scene, but guess what? You've got to survive that shit.
Yeah,
mate,
you just got to laugh.
Oh, yeah,
that is gold.
That's
absolute
good.
gold.
I don't think that's a
as
carton
well.
for you guys. I reckon that's a carton for the paramedic.
Yeah, I reckon as well.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah, definitely. You're not having a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Ah, Jesus. There's
Yeah.
no longevity. There is no longevity. When there's 5 stabbings a shift, there is no longevity in you not having a giggle. Don't get me wrong. You're still doing your job,
Yeah.
still doing everything right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just
Well, there
using
was.
a bit of
I guess
humor.
there was another time where we're looking at after a offender at the hospital that I knew was going to escape. I had a junior partner, a younger partner there, and I figured, what's like risk versus reward? Like, can I leave this younger partner looking after the violent offender that wants to escape hospital while I flirt with the nurses? I was like, yeah, for sure, of course. So I go start flirting with the nurses. Immediately, I hear a crash. Old mate's legging it out the hospital. My partner's in hot pursuit. I was like, oh, damn. So I
Anyway,
went for
how
the
is
biggest
Mrs. Rolfe this
run. So that was I went for a long run. Oh, younger days. Younger days.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, that classifies a carton. I think that one definitely.
I got
Got
one
him
more
back,
for you
got
before
some
we go
claps.
away. I got
Yeah.
one more for you. So obviously, the Kumanjai Walker matter aside, what was the wildest job you ever went to in your time? Sorry, apart from the drowning, the water rescue. So this is amazing. The fact, apart from that, what
Yeah.
was the wildest shit you ever saw in Alice?
The wildest shit. I think the wildest shit was probably when like a whole town camp turned on a couple of cops with some weapons and stuff. They went in to arrest some DV offender and it all turned wild. So it then turned into a situation where like the cops were stuck in a camp and we all had to like respond to, like for backup. And it just happened to be one of those jobs where there was a lot of people on. And it kind of was just like a movie, like, you know, like it was nearly like 10 cop cars screeching into a community, and it was like just gang versus gang to protect these cops who are getting beat up in the middle.
Yep.
But even that becomes like, even as I say that becomes normal.
Is that the job that
Like
I know?
I want to say names, I can't say names.
No,
That's not the tire iron one.
it wasn't that one, right? Yeah.
No, it wasn't that one, because I remember I came in the day after that and I was like, why didn't everyone do that? And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we just withdrew and thought we'd teach the community that it's okay to assault cops with tire irons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different shift sarge, but Alice just becomes different. I remember, like, it got to the point where I was working one up in Alice, and I was still, again, I'd only been on the road for max 3 years, and you'd be working one up, and there'd be like, you know, a dude breaking into houses, attacking people with an axe, and it'd be fine to be sent to that one up. But you'd just be like, yeah, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
So it just becomes so normalized.
Yeah. Yeah. But you
Mate,
become
I mean,
desensitized.
I don't know
We
to fame
speak
anyone
Alice.
though. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lady in Alice that had it. No, I shouldn't say it. I won't say this one. It's too identifying. It's too identifying.
Yeah.
I stand down.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
I've got one question for you. And look, we've had some funny ones and all that sort of stuff, which is great. Out of all this, what would you like the outcome to be when you're talking about politics and the bosses? What would you like to happen? Basically, now all this is finished, the coronial's finished, the court case is finished. If some action was to take place to actually make politics, the influence of politics, or the bosses or the department better, what would you like to see happen to make it better?
Look, I think on a personal level, on a selfish level, I think it would be good to get the bosses, you know, in a room or in public and be like, and put it to them a little bit, like nearly a little bit of cross examination. Because if you say what we talked about at the start of the episode, where the current commissioner is backing this, the actions now from in regard to one death in custody, saying like you need to have, you know, 5-6 months of investigation before you put a file forward. How is that different than the shooting kind of thing? Like, put it to them, like, and that's on a selfish level, and that's just for me, like, explain yourself or take some responsibility.
Yep.
But again, that doesn't mean anything for me, really. In true life, that doesn't mean anything for me now, because, like, you know, an apology from them doesn't mean anything because I don't respect them as humans. whatever comes from them doesn't mean anything. So for me, it doesn't matter. If it was about me, I'd be like, yeah, just take accountability, or like sit down with me and let us challenge each other and decide. Well, and like tell me like what you think, and I think they're wrong. I think they know they're wrong, but that would be the thing to see, to actually put them on to have them. They have to be forced to like back themselves, because they don't at the moment. They just like sneak away from it, the responsibility from it all. In regard as what actually matters, the police force moving forward, I think they just need to, a line needs to be shown. And if you're not up to the job, if you haven't got the ability to be strong enough to stand up for your moral compass, fucking see you never. Just disappear. I think the people that need to be in the job, politics and police, politics probably fucking more so.
Yeah.
Is that if your goal has to be to look after people that need help, to protect people, but to be intelligent about it, especially if you're up top. Fuck, you have to be intelligent about it. I think, and this is like jumping so back, like just to wrap up the podcast series kind of thing on a fucking really hectic point, you know, the issue, because it's like so equivalent in the NT, the black deaths in custody argument.
Yep.
Like it's just such a big example where people don't actually understand that if you're Indigenous in custody, once you're in custody, you are less likely to die than another race.
Yep.
What the issue should be is the incarceration rate. Because if we talk about this is a level of intelligence that we're not getting from the bosses, because every time a cop hears that black deaths in custody, commissioner of police, they should be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not the case. It's the incarceration rate. But why is the incarceration rate so high? Because of this, because of health, because of employment, because of education, because of this. But the actual death in custody rate, it's like a false stat, because it's only as high as it is because the incarceration rate's so high. But if you put it per capita in incarceration, it's lower.
Yeah.
But people don't understand it. So not only do you have to want to do good and help people, you actually have to be intelligent. So I think the people in charge, that's what I would change. Their motivations have to be pure, but they also have to be intelligent.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case right now.
Zach, you're not going to get into politics, mate. There was way too much common sense in that fucking reply.
Yeah, my bad.
It's I don't think we need to go on forever. It's gonna be 2 hours by the time we're done. So I just want to thank you, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And I think the beauty of this platform is you're not just talking to people who are interested. You're talking to people who were there, like not there. I wasn't in Yuendamu that day, but my squad mate was, and another good mate of mine was. Yeah. And mate, we'd been to a job together. I get it. Yeah. I completely understand it. So I think, and Schultzy's the same. How many Indigenous? We've worked in all the communities, like all over the place. I think that was why we could really flesh it out, because you know, Schultzy and I coming from a position of we get it, mate. We were there.
Yeah.
We know. Yeah. So, mate, I'm so glad you came on.
It's been awesome.
And need to give a shout out to our mate, and I'm going to name him Bevo.
Yeah.
Our mutual mate. He's our squad mate.
The fucking man.
The man is an absolute legend. He was a guy, I think I mentioned him earlier in another episode where a long time ago where I said he was feared. If we took him on as a DT's partner, we knew we were going to do it. He's just as strong as an ox. He's a quietly spoken bloke. He's a quiet, competent gentleman who will very happily tear your skull clean off your shoulders. He's just an absolute weapon, and I've got all the time in the world for him. And
he's another one that should have got a bravery medal, disarming or taking down a knife-wielding offender in a mall off-duty with Mildy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right,
yeah, just recently, but...
Oh, yeah. It's
hard. No, but Bev is a legend.
Absolute legend of the job. And, you know, a mutual friend and our squad mate, Squad 91 of 2007, mate, he was on there. Hard man. And he was a lot younger and a bit skinnier and a bit harder, just quietly. He hurt people, mostly police recruits who he was with. So he's a weapon. But yeah, mate. Once again, it's been a pleasure. We'd love to have you back on, mate, just randomly.
I'll be back for sure.
Awesome. So I think we might have to rename the whole show to the Three Ordinary Cops. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Three amigos.
Honestly,
and just to sorry, Schultzy, just to all the listeners too. If you do have questions or any comments or anything about that, we're in contact with Zach. We can certainly reach out and get those questions answered. So
Yeah,
happy
definitely.
days.
And look, yeah, and that goes for sure. If I've missed anything, I do apologise, because honestly, we're getting that many messages from that many things that I don't have. It's not like I spend my days going through it all. So yeah, if you do have any questions, if I've missed something, let us know. And Zach, I think you're more happy to come on and have a chat about it.
Definitely. Definitely.
And from my point of view, mate, it's been an absolute honour to actually have you on the show. I feel very privileged. And yeah, mate, I just love everything you said, and it's from the
No,
heart.
bro.
And yeah, I thought it
Thank you,
was
brother.
really, really good. It's amazing how I've got to know you since we started this, I suppose, series, and how much I can see my personality, like your personality, in
Yeah.
that. So yeah, definitely. Thank you very
That's
much.
awesome. Thank
We
you, guys.
would have made a pretty badass patrol group back in the day, just quietly.
That would have been good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Do you know what? That'd be one where you'd finish the 12 hours and go, do you know what? Can we have some fucking overtime, please?
Yeah.
We got that much paperwork to do. We need a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would have
yeah,
been good.
very good. So that's it. That's a wrap on the Zach Rolfe series. And but he'll be back. He'll be back. He loves it.
I'll
He'll
be
be
back.
He's got a
Yeah.
head for. Well, he's probably got a head for TV, but we'll keep him on
Oh,
the
he's
pod.
too kind.
That's
Too kind. Too kind.
No, very good. So it's a touring cop signing off. What do you reckon, Chelsea?
Yep. We'll see you next time.
All the best.